We can go ahead and kick things off. Thank you so much for joining us today to learn how to scale your mentorship initiative. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Alyssa, and I'm going to be supporting the tech for our session today. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll send you the recording in a follow-up email after this. On the screen, you'll see a few tips to help us ensure a smooth virtual experience. We suggest adjusting your video layout to speaker view, as that'll allow you to see both the slide deck and our panelists today and our host. We'd also love to see where everyone is calling in from. Feel free to drop your name and organization in the chat. Throughout the session, you can drop questions in the chat or use that Q&A feature. Both are turned on, so you should be able to chime in there. We also encourage you to use the reactions feature throughout the session, keep things fun, get feedback to our speakers, and just hear from you. So definitely feel free to chime in all throughout the hour today. So today's session is going to be moderated by Jennifer Cayos, our Director of Marketing at Mentor Collective. Jennifer has spent her career at the intersection of mentorship strategy and student success, and is a frequent contributor to thought leadership on how mentorship transforms outcomes in higher education. With a background in product management and a master's in curriculum design, she brings both the research lens and the practical program design experience to guide today's conversation with Kelly. And our panelist today is Kelly Wenig from the University of Wisconsin-Stout Polytechnic. Kelly has worked in higher education since graduate school. He finished his PhD in American history in 2017 and began working in student success at Iowa State University's Dean of Students office. In 2020, he took a position as director of the Holland Academic Success Center at Wayne State College. He has worked at the University of Wisconsin-Stout Polytechnic since 2023 and is the director of the Blue Devil Achievement Center, where he oversees academic advising, academic coaching, peer tutoring, and peer mentoring. So before we dive into our first section on strategy, we do want to hear from you. So I am going to be launching a poll here. Just one second. Okay. So we know that every institution is at a different stage of this journey. So please take a moment to select your top 3 strategic priorities right now. Are you just starting out and looking to launch, or perhaps you have a successful pilot and your primary hurdle is scaling efficiently without losing that human touch? We're also seeing a massive shift towards leveraging AI and technology to bridge administrative gaps, and of course, the ever-present need to measure impact, improve ROI to leadership. Select up to 3, and we'll use these results to tailor our conversation and ensure we're hitting the topics that matter most to this group. All right, I'm seeing increasing student engagement kind of leading the pack right now, measuring program impact, scaling mentorship efficiently. Topical for today's conversation. Excellent. Looks like we still have a few responses coming in, so feel free to get those submitted. All right, but Jen and Kelly, just so you know, increasing that student engagement is our leader of responses right now. All right, we'll give you about 10 more seconds. And then once I close that out, I will pass things over to you, Jen.
All right, I'll take it away. Thank you so much, Alyssa. I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm Jen. I am so excited to chat with Kelly here in just a sec. Before we dive in, a quick agenda on what we're going to be chatting through today. So Kelly is from University of Wisconsin-Stout Polytechnic. Their MentorLink program has been really successful in scaling, and we are going to get a deep dive on more about the program, get a better understanding of their program information, and then we'll talk through first that decision to scale. So what goes into the choice? Like, how do you make that choice to scale? How do you scale without scaling your team? I know that that's something on the minds of a lot of the folks here in attendance today. building a large program takes a lot of behind the scenes support. And how do you do that without having, if you don't have the resources or the bandwidth or the ability to scale that team? And then maintaining quality. What happens when you're at scale? How do you make sure that match quality is participant centered? It's human first. It's folks are feeling valued, and that the program doesn't suffer as a result of a larger program. And then lastly, visibility, buy-in, and making the case. How do you get support to grow your program, and how do you look at what's in the future? What's looking ahead? How might mentorship that scales impact institutions going forward? Especially, when we consider what tech is able to do. So with that, we're going to get started. Let's dive in to University of Wisconsin Stout Polytechnic story. Kelly, I'd love to pass it off to you to walk us through more about UW Stout's mentoring initiative. Can you tell us more about the goals and the program, and what the landscape looks like there?
Yeah, thanks, Jen, and thanks, Alyssa, for the introduction. I really appreciate it and appreciate you all inviting me to join you. So our Mentor Link program is part of our overall student success initiative, which is part of our long-term strategic plan. We're really trying to increase student engagement and student, success at a level that helps students feel like Stout is the right place for them. Everybody here is dealing with, demographic change in the nation, and making students feel comfortable at the university that they've chosen to attend is a high priority for us. So that supports our Mentor Link program, and making sure that we have quality engagement so that students feel like they've made the right choice when they get to Stout, and even before they get to Stout. So really, the whole purpose of our Mentor Link is to feed into our larger student success initiative and make sure that students are getting the support they need, not just from staff members, but also from peer mentors. And then, one of the nice things about MentorLink are the priority flags that you can put down, and we're integrating that into our academic advising, which is also in our office, and all of our student services, but really our academic advising. And we're sharing those flags, and we've actually just worked to get our advisors into the platform so they can check on students as well. So, like, really integrating the information that the mentors are gaining from the mentees, and then sharing that with campus to make sure that we know what we're doing and we have guidance on where we need to go. And then obviously the main event, the last goal is fall to spring and fall to fall retention. Retention is the main driver, and that's what we're doing at our university. In the future, we can talk about this later. I'd like to get into timely graduation more, but our main the main part of our strategic plan is improving retention for that first year. So that's an overview of our program and why we're doing it. And I don't know, Jen, if you want to talk more about the program, if you have any specific questions about it, or if we want to get into the questions right away.
Yeah, yeah, I'll weave some of that as we dive into some
Yeah.
of the questions. I think it's important just to highlight at the beginning, just that quote at the bottom that the point of the program is to help folks feel, welcome and adjusted as they enter a new chapter in their lives. I think that's so important, and it's such a reason that scale happens, or we think about scale happening. The more folks that you can make feel welcome, and the more likely your retention outcomes are going to be positive as well. So yeah, with that, let's dive in. So let's start with that decision first. So Kelly, you made a significant shift in moving your program start date from September to April. I'm very interested in the student experience problem that maybe you were trying to solve, and why that meant, or why fixing that meant rethinking your timeline instead of just your capacity. Like, why did the timeline also play into the decision to scale?
Yeah, yeah, and that was the first major decision that I made in this program, is to switch to an April matching system, or a May matching. We wanted to do that because we know that our students have a lot more anxiety and questions in the summer before they get there. Like, anxiety is a fear of the unknown, right? And we know that our students have that, and when we start doing matching in September, we are doing our recruitment in late August or September as well. And then we have 2 weeks for training. So students really aren't getting matched until mid-September. And by then, they're already on campus and they have already made their first impression. And my goal is, I came from the Writing Center world where we do a lot of hiring the year before for the following fall so we can hit the ground running. And I took that approach and applied it to mentors because I wanted our mentorship program to be ready to go on the first day. And then I thought to myself, well, why aren't we doing this when students are stressed about moving in and have
Right.
concerns as they are coming to summer registration? So I just slowly backed it up and said, when do we really need students to tell other students that it's going to be okay? And it got into two different things. First, we want our students to understand in summer that orientation is going to be okay, but then we also had to make the decision about how to recruit mentors. So we made that decision to begin recruiting in April because students are on campus, they haven't left yet, and also it's not final season. So that's how like that early April, mid-April period on our campus became, a pretty fertile ground for recruitment because we wanted to make sure that our mentors were here and we could talk to them before they left if they had any questions. And then also to let them know that this is, it's some work, but it's not a ton of work. And it's something nice for you that you can do to help other people. And that really resonated with other students. So that's why we made that decision to switch to April and starting to match people in May to prepare for some registration.
I love that. So, and it's so interesting to hear you say that that was the first decision that went into this. It wasn't just jumping off the diving board into scaling right away for the entire incoming class, right? There were other steps along the way that you made to make that possible, and this is one of those, very first steps, which is, very tangible. It's just shifting the timeline to a different part of the year and making it more accessible for folks to know about your program. It's great. So now that big decision, what went in after you moved the timeline and you started seeing momentum there? What made you decide next to scale for the entire incoming class? What was the hook there?
Yeah, and that's really the decision for the entire incoming class is an equitability issue. We know we have a good idea. We have a lot of data on our students. Everybody has data on their students about high school GPA and all of these different things that students bring in with them. But from an equitability perspective, we wanted to have enough mentors to be able to guarantee that every incoming student gets matched with a mentor before they come for summer registration, because so many students don't even know that this program exists and or think that they need it at all. And students can still reject it. They can, get matched and say, nope, I don't want to talk to you, whatever. But the idea of getting all of these students or getting a program big enough to match every single student is an opportunity to get students set on the right foot, and just make sure that we have people that are we have students that are coming in with the opportunities and having a fellow student that they can connect with. When we've done this for years. We've done a survey of students before they, not before MentorLink in 2019, but we had asked them at their summer registration, what's your biggest, what are you stressed about? And they always said not knowing anybody. So, working with that, I'd always said like, this is an easy decision to make. The challenge is going to be to get students to join our program and become mentors. So the decision to switch to April is driven by what do students need, and the decision to scale for the entire incoming class. To me, that was the easiest decision, just because every student deserves that opportunity to scale or excuse me, every student deserves an opportunity to be matched with a mentor, and that was like the easiest decision to make, and the real challenge is making it happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that goes back to that quote right at the beginning. It's, why were you, your experience coming into a campus should be welcoming. You should feel that sense of belonging. That should encourage you to stay at the institution, and that should be afforded to everyone if it's possible. So I totally hear you there. I think that's great. So talking more about that challenge that you said, how do you grow then? How do you get folks to sign up? But you were able to grow MentorLink from roughly about 30 mentors to about 190 in a very short amount of time. I, I know in the room there are a lot of institutional leaders watching this and they're thinking maybe that's impossible. Right? So what would you tell them about how realistic it is to scale to that kind of growth? And, is it possible to do that within just a few years?
So, I mean, we successfully did it. It is possible, and it just takes a lot of coordination and thought and like leaning on partners and just asking people to help. So, uh, in my opinion, it's very realistic, and you just have to be intentional about who you're talking to and what your targets are. I originally I had one person working 4 hours a week on this, a full-time staff member, and then uh, they ended up taking a different position at a different university, and we kind of started over from scratch with a new person. And I was able to convince my supervisor that we needed $1,500 for student funding, like a student worker, to do this kind of 5 hours a week for the year. And I just bluntly told them, like, your job is to make sure that every mentor has a great experience so that they want to come back and that they feel like they've done a good job so that they can give those mentees a good experience, and the mentees will want to become mentors. Like that was our entire focus early on, was to give the mentors a great experience and give them the support that they needed. And we were going to organically grow this like the shining city upon a hill. We were going to radiate success from this program, and we're going to really target our small number of mentors. So making sure that we're touching base with them regularly and just seeing if they need anything, not being overbearing, but just like, hey, do you feel supported? Is there anything else I can do for you? You're doing a great job. I saw that flag that came in. I really appreciate that. I just want to let you know that I sent that to, that student's advisor, and they started to look into it. And students, just like anybody else, they like to know that the work that they're doing matters and that it had an
Yeah.
effect and that somebody did something for that. And that success was really important. So, uh, we can talk about more of the mechanics of this, but really like setting your goal and just monitoring it and making sure that you have a positive experience for your students, and you have somebody that understands what you're doing is going to make that dream a reality without question.
Yeah, yeah, I love that you captured that about the mentors wanting to feel like their work is mattering. That is something that we hear all the time. You mentors want to know what happened when I submitted a flag, what happened to my mentee, what were they able to get the help that they needed, and that is just so important in making them feel, like you do matter. I mean, they do, and making sure that they feel that way encourages them to come back in of subsequent years to engage with the program. That's such a great call out. Let's talk a little bit more about the behind the scenes logistics here. So, how to scale without scaling your team. You've mentioned that for a lot of this growth, it was either you or you and a couple other student workers, or a part-time someone focused part-time on this. That's the reality for a lot of institutions, and it's often actually why they stay so small and they're not able to scale. So I'm interested in how you're able to grow headcount, or grow the program without increasing your headcount at the same rate.
Yeah, so that is a major challenge, and that's one of the things that we've spent a lot of time over the last couple years doing. But one of the first decisions that I made, Javi, our partner, our mentor collective partner, who is the best, by the way. I hope he gets to see this because he's the man, and I love working with Javi.
He is
Um,
great.
yeah, yeah. But so Javi and I got to talking about this, and we said we have ambitious goals. We need 300 mentors. We need to get enough mentors to be able to match every single student that comes in. And we started strategizing ways to do this. And one of the things that we started doing um, was we created an opt-out rather than an opt-in situation for our mentors. And we said, if you're a mentor, that's great. We're just going to automatically sign you back out up. And if you don't want to in the following year, that's fine. Just let us know. But those mentors want to continue. And if they have a positive experience, they're they're thrilled to be a part of this. And some people say, hey, I'm too busy for this. But once they're a mentor, they rarely say that. I think I've only had like two that have said I'm too busy for this, but usually what happens is they end up graduating, and that's really one of the challenges that we had. And
Yeah.
we when we opt students into the program, one of the administrative things that we had to watch out for was just opting in students that are not going to be here anymore. So I get the list of students that graduate. I get the students that are student teaching, the students that are on co-op, and are not expected to. They're expected to like have a course, for student teaching or for a co-op, but they're not going to be an on-campus full-time student really expected anymore. So we do remove those students, and we remove graduating students, and that brings our number down a little bit. But the opt-in or excuse me, the opt-out method has really increased the number of people that we have seen continue in this program for a large percentage of our mentors are people that have opted in, and then we talk to our mentors and we target them specifically and say, hey, you should talk to your mentees and just say, do you want to join as a mentor next year and help? We're expanding this program, and be very clear with the mentors what our goals are, because they already bought in, they understand what we're trying to do, and they're just good advocates. And then I tell them, you can either talk to me or you can talk to our student workers about any questions that you have. So making some administrative tweaks and then providing that good student experience, and then having highly qualified student workers that were mentors to help administratively do this allows us to grow the program without, dedicating a full-time staff member to this particular program.
That's so great. So I love the model that you're talking about. And I also want to ask about tech a little bit. So, how much of the capacity that you're talking about is actually coming from technology as well, and versus people and headcount. So I'm thinking of Mentor Collective and the ability for our infrastructure to support some of the bottlenecks that might have otherwise capped growth, maybe from like matching. Or with the flags or some of that communication. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about how tech was able to support here as well.
Yeah. Oh, and that's obviously where mentoring shines the most. Like the technology and the matching capabilities and the surveys that you all put together, like the matching survey that students take and then the mentors take, allows people to get matched with the correct person. It's extremely rare that I have a student say, I want to be matched with somebody else. I've only had that happen once so far this year,
Oh,
and it was a
wow.
student who filled out she like told me she clicked the wrong button on the
Oh,
matching
wow.
survey. So like it's work whatever you're doing is working really well, and I appreciate it. But that we've set a few rules. Like our construction management program only wants to be matched, they want construction students mentoring construction students, and we are keeping that number of rules like artificially low right now because of imbalances in the number of mentors versus mentees. But in the future, if we have 600 mentors, we can, allow many more of those rules to exist, because we're going to have a lot more mentor flexibility. We're limiting that right now just
Right.
because of mentor capacity. But yeah, the Mentor Link as a technology, like the technology, your dashboard allows us to see everything that's happening really easily. And that allows me to communicate with my supervisors about like, hey, this is going well. Here's the trajectory. So the dashboard is great. And then, just like yesterday, we had our enrollment and quality unit meeting. All the directors were there, and I shared. Javi pulled some stats for me, and I shared like
Love it.
the growth, and that's actually going to be put into our Baldrige application, Malcolm Baldrige Award application that we're putting together for our campus. Which the stats you can pull out of it and the visualizations that you have are great. The micro surveys that you are able to quickly put together, like Javi put those together for me, and then we can push those out through the platform, that's work that I don't have to do. Like these are things
Right.
that
Right.
allow the program to run effectively and get quick information about what our students are, that we can communicate to campus and get things done very quickly. And that's where, the micro surveys, the flags that come up, all of these things are automatically run. Like flags come to me and then I just forward them to the next person. And eventually I'll train a student worker once they have, a little bit of time under them. I will have them start doing the flags. So like MentorLink, the platform allows us to get a lot of this stuff done very quickly in a way that we would not be able to do if we were just running it ourselves, like trying
Right.
to manually do this on like an Excel spreadsheet or like a traditional CRM. So yeah, it's very nice. And then you can look at each profile and like each matching relationship and see what's going on as well. So you can really get down to the student level, which again, it makes things faster to find. And that's how you get something to grow without having additional people. You just increase that efficiency.
Yeah, this is such a great talking point. It's such a good t jumping off point for the next question too, which is about, making the decision to move from spreadsheets, right? So I'm sure there are folks listening in who are still running things off of, their own CRM, a homegrown system, maybe a spreadsheet, and where, technology costs money, right? So where is the tipping point where the approach of being in spreadsheets or homegrown systems is no longer like Scrappy's not working anymore, right? It's actively limiting the amount of students that you can serve, and it actually might be less cost effective than the outcomes that you're pursuing from a tech-enabled platform. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that because I'm sure that plays into the decision to scale, especially when considering purchasing a tech platform to help you do it.
Yeah, like just thinking about like how you're phrasing that question, like the difference between me being able to do this for all students that are incoming first year students compared to me being able to do this for about, 40 students that I know are in my building at a certain time that I can go find. That
Right.
that's the difference right there. Like if I did not have this, I could try to run this on Excel and some, in some emails. But really, you have to have face-to-face time with students as much as you can, or be able to get your list really quickly and communicate them and know what's happening. And in order for me to be able to create matching surveys, do that physical matching to watch and respond to students and make sure that the right demographics are meeting each other, that would not be possible with the amount of time that I have. It's just not. So that's the difference between me working with, like 50 incoming students and maybe like 20 mentors versus me being able to match 1,200 this year and
Right.
having 250. Like that is the difference. And that's like you can do a lot of work, you can do a lot of hard work and try to do a good job doing it, but having the ability to get that information quickly and having a lot of the complex work being done in the background is that's the difference. And that's we are leaning on this to get this going because we're just really not able to be able to do this on our own.
Yeah. Yeah. I I hear you so much on there. I'm thinking of all those folks that are in spreadsheets. It's so much work, and then I'm so glad that it's worked out for you to be able to have the tech to be able to do that. Let's talk a little bit now about maintaining quality. So you had talked about the matching survey and how, even at scale, you're able to make sure that folks are getting matched with other folks who have shared identities or shared, a shared goal or participant-centered design is definitely at the heart of Mentor Collective's platform and of at the center of MentorLink's program design. So I'm thinking through beyond matching though, is there anything that you had to change operationally to ensure that match quality didn't suffer as the numbers grew? And this might not just be matching survey related. It could be, how do you handle those flags that are coming in? How do you make sure that the matches, the conversations are thriving? The pairings are engaged and are helping get to the goals that you have as an institution.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so the first thing that we had to do, I talked about our student workers, and they are fantastic. And not even our peer mentors, but we have like two like super mentors who are mentors, but then they're also we don't pay our peer mentors at Stout. We can't afford it, but we do pay two like super mentors to help engage those students and train them and create a good atmosphere in the program. And one of the things that they suggested was to create an annual calendar for so that we could give all the mentors an idea of like what are you going to be doing throughout the year. And then there's also a Microsoft Teams site that all mentors are in, and they can share ideas, and then they can also have resources that we built for them. So our super mentors have built resources for students, and they go over them with me. We meet, every so often, maybe, you know, our super mentor works for our campus in multiple areas, and I see him a lot. But we have about one hour, every month dedicated for Mentor Link to go over the resources that are there and to talk about any particular problems. Some, that's an average. Sometimes it's like more at a certain time, and sometimes it's less. But that's about how much time we have, and we our team site has been very popular, and that the handout has been very popular for students to be able to predict when things are going to happen and when we're going to ask them to reach out with certain messages. So that's been really great. One of the things that we want to do next, though, is to make sure that our mentors are reaching out at certain times about certain topics and get feedback from them about how that's going. And that's the other thing that our super mentors do. We're just now that we've scaled and got enough, we are now also like everybody else in here, we're going to improve engagement and improve that relationship quality. That's the place that we're at now as well. And what we're going to do, I'm going to lean on my super mentors, and I've gotten another one hired. So now we have two, each 5 hours a week for the academic year. Now we're going to be able to continue to make sure that mentors have that support. And our next mission is to kind of follow up with mentors, see how they're doing, and then if students are not engaged, referring them to the housing office if they live on campus or their academic advisor, and letting the advisor know and seeing if there is something else that needs to be taken care of for the student. And if nobody knows anything about the student, we're either going to reach out, or if we do know something, we're going to send an early alert. And we're trying to do like a multi-point, you know, check in on students just to see how they're going. That's our current strategy. This strategy may change, if we don't think that it's going well this year. But really, it's changing operationally is like changing our direction to making sure that our mentors have the support that they need. They feel confident in sending in flags. They feel confident reaching out to our super mentors. They reach out to me directly. And then, eventually it will be nice if we can get a couple of more and we can start having like little liaisons. Like one is the liaison to the advisors, one is the liaison to housing, and getting them to specialize further because this is good for them as well. It's work experience seeing a complex program and how it runs.
Yeah.
And that's really successful for our students. And our super mentors love what they're doing and they feel like they're making a difference. And I sit down with them and I've explained student success to them and they feel it very deeply. So all of these things kind of work together to create systems that ultimately improve match quality. And that's where we're going to continue to start working. We're going to continue to improve match quality the same way everybody here is trying to do.
Yeah, I love this so much. It sounds like you're also creating a sense of urgency around the mentees' needs and what next steps need to be taken to ensure that they're successful. And that's a cultural shift at an institution for even the students to feel that about their peers. I think that's incredible that MentorLink has done that so well. Um, I'm wondering, now switching gears as far as like support and urgency and buy-in, how would you do that with the decision makers who you are pitching this program to, who are maybe the purse holders on like, are we going to be able to pay for this at scale? How do you make it visible to folks who maybe are not on the ground, they're not seeing the impact every day, they're not seeing that or feeling that sense of urgency. What's the conversation and the steps that you take or you took to make MentorLink's program a priority in allowing it to scale?
Yeah, so my supervisor is the former head of our institutional research office, so she's big into data, and we do an annual survey, and she led this survey for a long time, which has made my job like kind of easy, but not super easy, but a little easier because she knows about student experience and she knows the importance of it, and she saw the results every year. And then we had a new chancellor come in right before COVID in 2020 and said, like, we're going to improve the student experience here. And I said, that's great. We have academic advising that's doing a great job. We have tutoring that's going well, but students, what are students doing outside of the classroom to make sure that they're getting the support that they need? And talking about like the sense of belonging and sense of self-empowerment, those are things that we try to do from all of these different areas. But making sure that students have a peer mentor, that's a everybody knows about mentoring programs and like the significance of them, like sort of in the background. They know that these things exist, but then just saying like, "Hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it well," and convincing them that you have somebody who's going to dedicate time to make this happen, and then showing them the plan that I had for increasing
Yeah.
this so that it
Yeah.
helped with every single student, not just, the 30 mentors and the 120 people that will end up matching, but saying
Right.
this is how much this is going to happen. This is how many students we're going to affect. This is the expected return on retention, and
Right.
retention is this much money. So what are you going to do? This is
Yeah. Yeah.
a fiscally sharp thing to do. Like otherwise, you're just telling the students that we don't need you here as much. We're not going to invest in you coming back. So really, just making the argument that this is going to bring more students back and make sure that this is an economically smart choice. And there's every university has too many things going on to say it's like it's this one thing that we did that mattered, but the return that we get from students saying like, I wish this would have been here when I was a freshman. Like I wish, somebody would have been able to do this for me. Like those are powerful statements that are qualitative, but are able to help show that students feel the change. And really that's what we're dealing with on our campus, is about feelings more than anything else. Students have to feel like they're in the right place, and if they feel they're doing the right thing, they're probably going to persist into the next year.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This is such a great story and case study of what like how successful scale can create impact. And we've talked a lot about culture of mentorship without actually saying that out loud. And I think celebrating mentorship even at all levels, right? The students are feeling it, the mentors are feeling it, the student workers that are part of this are feeling that urgency. We have the decision makers at the institution are feeling it. Everybody feels this sense of camaraderie and celebration around what mentorship can do for Stout, right? Like it can move the needle on these outcomes, and ultimately that means that a student is persisting, and we want that for all of our students, right? So it's just so fantastic, this whole idea of the Stout community, the culture has changed because mentorship has been offered at scale. It's fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, let's move into looking ahead. So now that you've built this beautiful community at Stout, you had mentioned to me in a previous conversation about a new advising model coming, and it's something that you might be navigating over the next coming months. So I'm wondering, the tides change at institutions. I'm sure there's folks right now listening in where that's happening right now for them. How are you thinking about mentorship's role as broader structure shifts, and what kind of advice would you give to others who might be in similar boats?
Yeah, I am absolutely going to use this year because we are changing our advising model. We've been undergoing a very long-term advising model change. There's been a lot of resistance to it on campus, and right now, certain units wanted to maintain our old advising model, and some wanted to go to an updated advising model with more longer professional staff advising. And as a result, we had two different advising models on campus, which is very confusing to students, and everybody struggled. And this fall, our chancellor has charged us to get back onto one advising model and for me to make it happen. So I'm working on that. But the upshot of that for mentorship is that I have a direct line to every incoming student here who needs to hear about a major change on campus. So I can have the advisors reach out and we can share that with faculty to share in the classroom. But I can also have another peer mentor tell students about a major change that's going to affect them on our
Right.
campus. And that's why I'm targeting every incoming first year student, just so that we can make sure that they're able to hear this from a fellow student about something that affects them and something
Right.
that the mentor has already gone through. So just when you see it like that, this is just another leg of the stool of communication for you. So if you create a strong culture of mentorship and you have good student leaders that are bought in and understand why we're doing this, they will train the next generation of people for you. And it's just it it radiates outward. I've said that a couple of times. Like if you have a clear mission of what you're trying to do and you see that the mentors are there to help and you give them that sense of urgency and excitement and they so that they see the value in what they're doing, they're going to become great ambassadors for what you're doing. And that includes major campus changes. Like you don't have to ask them to make the change, just ask them to tell people about it in their messages with students. And that's the greatest thing, in my opinion, about this.
Kelly, I'm not even sure how to follow up after after that. That's such a mic drop moment right there. But I am thinking now, if there's anyone who's still unconvinced, who's sitting out there and they're maybe, they're running a small but a high impact program and they're wondering just like should I do it? Should I make the move? I've heard you say so many times that it is worth it. It has created impact, and it's clear in the data, it's clear in the student experience. But is there anything else that you would share to kind of nudge someone in that direction to give them the confidence to feel like, yes, it is worth it. You can do this. Even if you have a small team, it is possible to do it.
Yeah, what I would say, like we had to start small. So if you have a small program and if you're able to dedicate just that little bit of time that you have to make it a really high quality program, training your mentors to understand what you're doing, you're already positioned to grow well. And for me, again, that was my easiest decision was to apply this to all mentors because all students deserve a positive mentorship program. So if you even have to think about stepping back and just concentrating your effort in one area for 1 year and then stepping out again in the future to really set that solid foundation. That would be the only thing that I would say. Just have your most solid foundation in place so that you and your mentors can really cooperate and teach other people as they come into the program. Sort of like a black hole. You don't just like hit a black hole at 100 miles an hour. You just slowly start
Right. Yeah.
like coming in. And when you're in a great program and you're like slowly coming in, you're going to adapt that culture, and that's what allows you to grow. And we know that black holes get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's kind of how I envision what we're doing a little bit. We are going to take over our campus, from a student success lens, and we're going to bring a good attitude to everybody here. And that's hard, but just like liking what you do and having an appreciation for helping others helps so much. And I will be remiss if I don't just mention our student worker, Ian Bryant. I'm just going to say it on name so he's on the record here. He is the greatest and has such a great attitude too. So finding students that have the right attitude and want to be outgoing and want to help others too is so important. So I just wanted to mention Ian. I call him the godfather of student success. And that's how I've explained this to him, that you are going to help mentor others about student success, and you are going to be the person that this
Right.
radiates from. So I just wanted to say that because I think it's funny, but it's also very important that you get a student that sees what you're doing, and that will help everything else go smoother.
Gosh, Kelly, I feel so much joy from you and so much excitement, enthusiasm for what mentorship can do for students and the impact that it's created for the students at Stout. And it makes me so happy. It's such a great way to spend my Wednesday. So I really appreciate this time with you. I hope that everybody here was able to feel the same enthusiasm coming from Kelly, and that you feel like you are able to do this in your at your own institutions.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. You guys are great. So.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Kelly. Um, I'm going to launch one more poll just to close us out today. Would love to gather some feedback and just hear from reflections of everyone how everything went. Um, and we appreciate you so much for joining us. But I'll just leave that poll up. We'll have more information about other events to come in the next month or two. We still are going to be having a lot going on in July and August, so keep an eye out for more information on that and hear from some more of our partners. But otherwise, we'd just love to get your feedback on the polls in front of you here, and then we will probably wrap up for the day. All right, perfect. Looks like everyone was able to answer. So we can close that out. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. As Jen mentioned, we do have a little time. So if you want to pop some questions in the chat or in the Q&A, we're happy to answer. We will send out the recording. We typically will make a post for our blog and follow up with the recording. So yes, you'll have access to the good conversation in the future. Otherwise, we can wrap up for the day. Thank you so much for joining us.